The Iraq War wasn't controversial. The British Army went into Iraq fully prepared, and everything went exactly to plan. That's the story you've probably heard, but it's complete rubbish. Because behind the headlines of a quick victory was a campaign filled with chaos, miscalculation, and a brutal reality that British forces were not yet ready for what came next. In just weeks, the coalition toppled a regime, but in the years that followed, they found themselves trapped in a conflict they didn't fully understand, fighting an enemy that refused to fight on their terms. And what happened in Iraq didn't just shape the war, it changed the British Army forever. Welcome back to the war. The world is still reeling from 9/11. The United States is preparing to invade Iraq, claiming Saddam Hussein possesses weapons of mass destruction. And Britain stands shoulder to shoulder with them. Prime Minister Tony Blair commits British forces to what becomes known as Operation TELIC, the UK's contribution to the Iraq War. This wasn't just a political decision, it was a gamble. Because while the Americans prepared for overwhelming force, Britain was entering a war with stretched resources, ongoing commitments in Afghanistan, and a military that hadn't fought a conflict like this in decades. Yet within weeks, over 46,000 British personnel are deployed. Their objective? Disarm Iraq of weapons of mass destruction and free the Iraqi people. Sounds straightforward, but it wasn't. March 2003, the invasion begins. British forces push rapidly towards Basra alongside US troops driving forward towards Baghdad. The SAS conducts a ground assault on a water treatment plant suspected of housing weapons of mass destruction. The Royal Navy supports amphibious assaults using warships. The RAF, using tornadoes, attacks radar defence systems protecting Baghdad. And at first, it works. Iraqi forces crumble under the pressure. Basra is surrounded, and within weeks, Saddam Hussein's regime collapses and he goes on the run. Quick victory, right? Here's the twist. Winning the invasion was the easy part, because what came next wasn't part of the original plan, and that's where things start to unravel. If you've ever wondered about your grandparents' or great-grandparents' military careers, I am offering limited spaces on our military legacy programme. Comment legacy below and I'll send you the details. Basra becomes Britain's responsibility, a city of over 1 million people, and initially there's cautious optimism. British troops take a softer approach than the Americans, less aggressive, more focused on winning hearts and minds. For a moment, it seems like it might work, but they weren't dealing with a defeated enemy, they were dealing with a waiting one. Militias began to emerge, loyalists, insurgents, criminal gangs, and slowly Basra starts slipping out of control. Roadside bombs, sniper attacks, ambushes, mortars. The enemy isn't standing and fighting anymore. They're blending in, disappearing, and striking when it hurts most. And British troops? They're stuck right in the middle of it. This wasn't a conventional war anymore. There were no clear battle lines, no uniforms to identify the enemy, no safe zones, and that's where the pressure starts to build. British forces are trained for combat, but this is something different. Urban warfare, counterinsurgency, constant tension, and here's the reality. They were adapting on the fly. Patrols became more dangerous. Every alleyway could hide an ambush. Every civilian interaction could turn hostile in seconds. And the biggest problem? They didn't have enough troops to control the city properly, which meant one thing. They were always reacting, never in control. By 2004, the situation had escalated. The insurgency is growing stronger, better organised, better equipped and more confident. Groups like the Mahdi Army began to dominate parts of Basra, and British forces, they're increasingly under siege. At one point, British troops were effectively pinned down inside their own bases. Mortar attacks, rocket fire, constant harassment. Instead of controlling the city, they were fighting just to hold their ground. Now the question isn't, how do we win? It's how do we survive this? Let's talk about something that rarely gets highlighted: equipment. Because one of the biggest criticisms of Operation TELIC was this: British troops weren't properly equipped for the fight they were in. Lightly armoured vehicles like the snatched Land Rover, designed for Northern Ireland, not the streets of Basra. And when IEDs started becoming the weapon of choice, those vehicles became death traps. It's a hard truth, but it matters, because it shows the gap between expectation and reality. And for the soldiers on the ground, that gap was deadly. Operation TELIC wasn't just strategy and tactics, it was people. 179 British personnel lost their lives during the campaign, thousands more were wounded, and countless others returned home, changed forever. But here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Many of those losses didn't happen during the invasion, they happened during the occupation. The part of the war that wasn't supposed to be difficult, the part that wasn't supposed to last this long, and that's what makes it hit harder. By 2007, Britain makes a critical decision to withdraw from Basra city. British forces pull back to Basra Air Station and effectively hand over control of the PJCC and Basra Palace. But this wasn't a victory, it felt like an admission. The city they were supposed to stabilise was no longer under their control. Militias still operated freely, violence still simmered beneath the surface, and Britain's role was quietly shrinking. Operation TELIC officially finished in 2011, although the bulk of the mission ended in April 2009. British combat operations in Iraq came to a close, but the legacy, that's more complicated, because while Saddam Hussein was removed, the stability that was promised never fully materialised, and for the British Army, TELIC became a hard lesson in modern warfare, in counterinsurgency, and in the reality of fighting a war where victory isn't clearly defined. So what did Operation TELIC actually prove? That winning the first battle doesn't mean you've won the war. The British Army proved it could deploy quickly, fight effectively, and achieve its initial objectives. But the long-term challenge, that was something else entirely. A war against an invisible enemy, in a country fractured by conflict, with no clear end in sight. And that's the part people don't always see. And if you think Iraq was the last time Britain faced a challenge like this, think again, because the lessons learned in Basra would follow them into the next war. Now go check out our video on TELIC. Hi soldiers, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments, and check out our merchant membership programs. And don't forget to comment legacy for your family's military history. And don't forget to check back in again soon. That's an order.